first off, obviously a special day with Veterans Day, and excited we were able to get some veterans in here, and we talked about before the game. There's certainly some parallels, between the military and team sports, the toughness, the connection, the having each other's back, the attention to detail, things. And we actually went through a book this summer called Make Your Bed, and Admiral McRaven, and we went chapter by chapter as a team, and we actually talked about some of that before the game today. So this day is always very special to me. It's an honor to be able to play on Veterans Day, and happy we were able to celebrate that with some apparel and things, and get invite veterans into the game. Now, in regards to the game, really proud of the toughness and defensive connection we showed. Obviously, not an ideal start offensively, and a little different to how we have started so far this season. But really proud of how we leaned on our defense, and we had made some adjustments offensively. I thought it was a sign of a very mature and connected group to adjust and close out the half the way we did, and then play the way we did in the second half. So great game of growth for this group, and just really proud of our team. Ever since I said something, Adam, he hasn't started with you. This is like 3 times in a row, including the other day. So sorry about that.
You want to go? Go ahead. When you guys are shooting the way they were earlier, when you're on the sideline, what's going through your head? Like, it doesn't look like it's bad shot selection from where we were necessarily, but what are you thinking just during that period before the?
Yeah, we're trying to in real time, right, evaluate shot quality. It's something that we talk about, and I agree with you. It felt like we had some good looks. I don't think all of them were great, but felt like we had some good looks. And listen, you got to give them credit. I thought they were swarming our gaps, and then really recovering at a high level. And we got a little too stationary on the perimeter. We didn't cut at the level we needed to. So we made some adjustments. Talked about getting the ball in the paint first. And then, when that shot goes up, going to get some extra possessions. And obviously Brandon was really impressive, and Amari got a couple, Tilly's been really good. So I think, again, proud of the way our guys adjusted offensively. Certainly proud of the defensive effort, but proud of the way our guys adjusted offensively tonight. Gary, can I see those stats one more time? Thanks.
Colin getting his first start, just the guys who are up there obviously have seen him come back, but you were here all last year as he's going through that. Just to, obviously Devin being out allows that, but what does that mean for him? It's
been a roller coaster of really about coming up on 12 months for him. Yeah. And I get to see the time he puts in every single day to give himself a chance to even practice. Now the exciting thing for us is he's been more consistent lately and had 2 great days of prep. So I felt he earned the right to play well. For us, part of him representing the toughness and the winning over everything that we talk about every single day was part of why he started. The other part is, I think early on in the season, when you're trying to establish some substitution patterns and somewhat of some consistent rhythm to the game, it made the most sense to put him in so we could still bring Gabe in kind of as that first perimeter player. So those were the two big reasons. Colin earned it. And it's not to say some other guys didn't, but that, combined with trying to establish some consistency with our substitution patterns was the big reason.
John was questionable coming into the game. What was he dealing with, and did it impact him throughout the game?
Yeah, it did impact him. He showed a great deal of toughness. He wasn't able to practice yesterday. He was really sick, and it kind of been that way the last couple days. So, really I've talked about this in the past, the resources that we have at Ohio State, and you see it permeate throughout the program, and for our medical team and him to do what they needed to do to get ready to play was big time. But he's really tough. You never question his competitiveness or his like, he loves to hoop, and it's part of what I love about him. And so when I kind of saw him before, you know, we left last night. I felt pretty confident that he would turn the corner. But, I mean, for a guy who wasn't able to practice, you know, to go out and do what he did was big time. And, you know, we were able to, I think, try to get him, you know, I told him we'll just try to get you kind of some shorter bursts of minutes and instead of maybe long stretches. And so that's why we did that.
So then with Devin obviously being out, how did that stress your offense? 'Cause when you're going through this stretch in the first half, Junie's sick, Devin's not there. Those are two guys you would lean on in some of those moments. How did those guys, their respective availabilities impact what you're trying to do offensively?
Yeah, if you have followed us closely last year and so far this year, you know, Devin, I mean, even last game, Devin came in, hit 2 big threes, and I got high level trust in him offensively to make something happen for us maybe when we need to stabilize our offense a little bit. So, you know, certainly, you know, missed him out there, but honestly, going into the game, my biggest fear with him not being out there was rebounding. They're really, really good at going to the glass. And so you lose one of your best rebounders. That was the biggest question mark I felt like we had to answer collectively as a team. You know, offensively, I don't know. I think some of it just was tonight. We just didn't shoot it as well. I think him being out there and, you know, there being some just lineup adversity maybe played a small role, but I don't want to put too much into that. I think some of it was their defense and don't want to discredit that, but also we missed some looks we usually make.
Each of the first 2 games, I think you guys hit your first 5 or 6 shots from the floor and really got out fast. Today, I think it was 1 of 14 and 0 of 8 on threes.
It felt worse.
The question I have, was it a sense that maybe you guys were settling for jump shots and not getting the ball inside, and then eventually when you did, some things kind of kicked open for you a little bit?
Yeah, I think there were a couple I'd like to have back and get paint touches first. You know, I think that's part of it. We're going to be aggressive from 3, and you know, I don't want guys kind of being hesitant, but we got to be smart, right? And we don't want to waste possessions. And you know, I think for us, we talked about, again, we adjusted in timeouts, like we got to play through the paint. We're evaluating the quality of shot we're getting after paint touch, and I think we saw that improved. And then that put a lot of pressure, you know, on their defense. They couldn't be as aggressive because we drew some fouls. They were super aggressive, and when we were going side to side, we kind of let them be aggressive. So we had to meet their aggressiveness defensively with our own aggression, and I thought we did a better job of that, to your point, after the start was what?
1 of 14 and 0 of 8. The other question I had was Noel, I greeted you when he came in here, his 30th career double-double.
Wow.
29 of those obviously at Wright State, and he had played well, it felt like, against Ohio, and then didn't maybe score as many points the last 2 games. Was there a case of you wanting him to just turn it loose and attack, and we saw maybe the best of him tonight perhaps, or a better version of him?
Yeah, well, he also played really well against Tennessee. And, you know, I think the one thing he and I have been talking about over the last week and through the first 2 games is be aggressive, play with the physicality, you know, and you can do that off the ball as well with this cutting and going to the glass. I want him, you know, shooting with confidence from 3. I believe in his ability to shoot out there. And so, you know, for us, he's got to be a weapon. I think the best thing he did tonight, though, was on defense. I thought his communication was much improved. He played with more force and physicality on that side, and you see that with his defensive rebounding numbers. But his anticipation on you know, because we put him in a tough spot. We weren't switching, you know, pick and pop big there for the first half, and you know, he got caught a little too deep at times for the return, but you know, he adjusted, he anticipated better, and I thought defensively was just as good as what the stats, you know, say, which is a great sign for us as he continues to improve.
Christoph's obviously getting the message that he's got the green light from deep. I struggled a little bit tonight, 0-6. Looked like maybe he was getting his head a little bit. I don't know if you've been able to talk to him about that. Is that something you do talk to him, or what will you say?
When I see him, I'm gonna say, hey, you just missed. You went 0 for 6, so that means the next one's probably going in. So, you know, when you got time and space, fire that thing. And it was important to me to keep encouraging him to shoot, because there's not going to be too many times he shoots like that. We've tracked it all off season. So I think him getting up, 5 or 6 was important, especially when he missed the first few. So yes, he knows, and we talk about just the belief we have in him to do that. And then you see, his ability after he shot I think he shot the 6th one. The next one, he had another wide open look, and he drove it and had an assist to, I believe it was Brandon. So his assist numbers are huge for us, but we want him to be aggressive up there. He's got to continue. He won't have too many times like this.
Yeah, you mentioned this being how connected you were defensively in this game. Like, what do you think was the big step you took on that end of the floor tonight from the first 2 games?
I think rebounding, and we've now, from game 1 to game 2 and game 2 to game 3, our ability to take what we're doing in practice from a scouting standpoint and go out and execute on defense in those details keeps getting better and better. But it starts with rebounding. This is a very good rebounding team. And it's representative of a Big Ten team. They got multiple bigs out there. They're athletic, they're physical, and they're going to be a good rebounding team all year. I really believe that. So that was big time for us to show the growth with all the work we've been doing in regards to that, but also impressed with our execution of the scouting report as well.
Jack.
John had kind of a slow start to the game, but after that shot clock violation, you guys kind of had an interaction on the bench. I noticed you guys were talking to each other, and he subs in, scores 8 points in the final 2 minutes.
It's all coaching.
What did you say?
All coaching.
What did you say to him before he went in, and how important is getting him going for the offense?
It's really important. I mean, you can see the gravity that he causes on the court. He's such a threat. And I think he's got to continue to get better, but I've really challenged him in the area of turnovers after the first 2 games, and he was much improved in that. So he knows that I want him to be super aggressive, and I think I was probably just checking on making sure he was all right, making sure his minutes we were doing what we needed to do from a minute standpoint of getting him kind of in and out to help give him the best chance to be successful, because obviously if he's playing at a high level, it just changes our team. So again, showed a ton of toughness to play 26 minutes and do it at a plus 20, get to the free throw line like he did. He's so much fun to coach because of how he's wired, mentally, and I like that. So proud of the toughness he showed.
Bruce was talking about either the last game or the first game about how you guys had done a pretty good job defending for like 22 seconds and then giving up shots, giving up buckets. How much better did you think you guys were in that tonight? And when you do finish possessions and you hear the crowd clapping at 3-2, 3-2-1, and you get the stop, how much energy does that give guys on the bench? How much energy does that give the team when you're able to finish possessions like that defensively over and over?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. That's like you would fit in with our team. It's like a high basketball IQ question. So it's contagious. I think we have multiple shot clock violations, maybe, or it felt like we did, or we put them, into a really tough shot at the end of shot clocks, and we finished the play. We talk a lot about our defense finishing plays, finish the play. That's certainly with a rebound. It's executing coverage all the way through the clock. We didn't do a good enough job of that in game 1, and we've gotten better each game as that's gone, because I think it's important for our defense, because we're going to face teams that are going to try to shrink the possession number in games. And when our offense isn't rolling at max capacity like it wasn't for significant chunks of the game tonight, we got to be able to sit in and finish the defensive possession well. And so I thought we did that. So you saw multiple times, our bench, the energy it gives us, the excitement, the connection of our team when we did finish plays at a high level, because it felt like a lot of, at least especially when you consider the tempo of the first 2 games, it felt like a lot of possessions went down to 5 seconds or under in the clock.
And then I know you said Colin, the way he prepared for this game and this week, the way he's been preparing for the last year, he earned that start. For his 2 seasons, he hasn't taken many shots. I guess, how do you balance that with him? He took 2 shots tonight when you're going to play him 20 minutes, career high. Seems like more of a guy that just kind of makes plays happen when the opportunity comes to him than running stuff for him. But how do you maybe work that balance with him of being aggressive
Yeah, well, he's a good shooter, and he works every single day at it. Again, we're constantly evaluating shot quality, and I think as if you're watching how we're playing, and this is why I talk about our connection. We're not calling a lot of sets. We're teaching and playing through a lot of concepts, and that in order for that to work at a high level, you got to have high basketball IQ guys, and you got to have guys, who are reading the game and reading the game, those initial binds you put the defense in, who are reading the game at a high level. And Colin's a guy who does that. His sometimes just making the one more pass is the best thing for the team. And he also needs to be aggressive from three when he's open, and we want him. And that's why when he missed the shot in the second half, I immediately looked at him and told him, shoot the next one. Shoot the next one. So I think his basketball IQ and listen, when you're playing with as gifted as scorers as we have, I think you having some guys who aren't maybe hunting their shots at a high clip is beneficial for the team. But yeah, he's got to be aggressive. He's cut really well in practice and scored. He's shooting the ball well, from three. And I just got a lot of trust in him. And I thought he played really well, was really good defensively too.
Last few games, and Jeff and Joe. Jake, so earlier you referenced the book, Make Your Bed. What were some of the points you brought to your guys today, and how does that tie into the resiliency that you saw tonight?
Yeah, well, I got to give President Carter credit for introducing me to that author. And I had read another one of his books, and this one we felt like would be great for our team. And so the chapter, and I don't remember what chapter it is, maybe our guys can tell you, but we talked about in the book, they reference carrying a raft, all right, and it takes everybody. And when someone is sick or someone's injured, which we faced, like guys just got to hold on a little tighter. They got to hold on a little stronger, and help kind of that sick or injured guy, like carry that. Carry what you're missing. So it just seemed to apply in really every way to tonight's game. And it's a book we've referenced, multiple times since we finished it. And again, I think President Carter, who's such an impressive leader, thankful for his introduction into it's Admiral McRaven, right? Did you look? Yeah, I think the introduction to his work has been really beneficial for me. And he gave a speech, I want to say it might have been at Texas, and that's where the book is kind of so the book references that. Really, really powerful, great for team building, and our guys did a great job reading it. So we leaned on that, thought it applied.
Jeff.
That defense, the perimeter defense seemed really good. Asked you about that. And that gets into the finishing those possessions, right? How important is that? As you said, this is a big, good rebounding team, sort of Big Ten size a little bit. Getting ready for Big Ten play and having that perimeter defense that just does that, how important do you think that is and will help you guys down the stretch?
Yeah, well, it's considering our non-conference, it's hard to think too much about Big Ten play right now.
Yeah,
I think every game, there's a process throughout the season. I've talked about this, like what our goals are. We don't have to talk about our goals because there's a standard in our program, and we constantly fight every single minute we play. Every time we practice, we fight to be at that standard. So, I mean, we gotta keep getting better for Notre Dame. They're a really good team, and we got a big game here Sunday afternoon. So that's what I'm thinking about, that we got to continue to rebound well. We got to continue to guard the ball well. We got to be connected defensively for Notre Dame. That's the most important thing right now. And, Big Ten, we all know what kind of gauntlet Big Ten basketball is. I think it's the deepest league in the country. And you have to play really well every single night, home or away. That's the league we're in. But our focus right now is on having a good practice and some good prep leading into Notre Dame, because they're a really good team, and it's going to be a real fun, intense, hard game Sunday afternoon. So that's we got to continue to prep well, you know, as we get ready for that one.
I was pretty much gonna ask you about that. Just, are you looking forward to learning more about your team Sunday afternoon and that challenge against an ACC team?
Yeah, I think, again, they're a really good team. They got, you know, some dynamic guards that can really score the ball, and, you know, they're gonna be tough. So we have to continue to prepare well. The one thing I'll give this team a lot of credit, we practice well, we prepare hard. Guys are watching film on their own, and that's why I think our execution and attention to detail continues to get better and better. And, you know, make no mistake, we have to get better between now and Sunday. You know, and that's what our focus is, one day at a time. It is about the process of getting better and growing. Growth is a value of our program, and right now we have to continue to grow. And if we don't, it's going to be really, really hard one on Sunday. We got to continue to grow to get ready, and you know, thankfully we got a few days here to do that.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you.